What if I told you that the entire universe is waiting right now, this very moment, to hear 6 simple words from your lips? Not a prayer, not a plea. Just 6 words that will shift everything. You see, my friend, most people spend their whole lives speaking thousands upon thousands of words into the void, wondering why nothing changes. They beg, they worry, they complain. But what if the secret wasn't in speaking more, but in speaking correctly? What if your subconscious mind, that infinite power within you, has been waiting all this time for you to say the right thing? Stay with me, because in the next hour or so, I'm going to share these 6 words, and I promise you, your reality will never be the same again. Now, I know what you're thinking. You've heard promises before. You've tried affirmations, visualizations, positive thinking. Maybe some things changed for a little while, but then you slipped back. The bills kept coming. The loneliness remained. The sickness persisted. The job never came. The breakthrough never happened. And you started to wonder if any of this really works, or if it only works for other people. If it only works for those who are lucky, or special, or somehow different from you. Let me tell you something with absolute certainty. It works for everyone. Every single person. Without exception. Because it's not about luck. It's about law. The law of mind. And law is no respecter of persons. It works the same way for everyone, every time, without fail. The law of gravity doesn't care if you're rich or poor, educated or simple, young or old. Drop something, and it falls. That's law. The law of mind is exactly the same. Think a thought, with feeling and conviction, and it must manifest. That's law. But here's what most people don't understand. You must work with the law correctly. You can't just throw words at the universe and hope something sticks. You need the right words, spoken in the right way, with the right feeling. You need to understand the principle behind the words, so you're not just repeating something mechanically. You need to cooperate with the infinite intelligence within you. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you today. I'm going to share with you 6 words that I've seen transform thousands of lives over the past 30 years of studying and teaching the power of the subconscious mind. 6 words that have pulled people out of poverty and into abundance. 6 words that have healed bodies that doctors gave up on. 6 words that have restored marriages, created opportunities, and opened doors that seemed permanently locked. 6 words that have brought peace to troubled minds, and joy to broken hearts. But more than that, I'm going to show you why these words work. I'm going to explain the science and the spirit behind them. Because when you understand the principle, you won't just be repeating something I told you. You'll be working with infinite intelligence itself. You'll be cooperating with the creative power that made the stars and the mountains, and every living thing. And when you cooperate with that power, when you align yourself with it, miracles become normal. The impossible becomes inevitable. The blocked becomes open. I know you're tired. Tired of struggling. Tired of trying so hard and getting nowhere. You look at your life and you think, why is this so difficult? Why do I have to work so hard for things that come easily to others? Why does everything feel like pushing a boulder uphill? And I want you to know that I understand. I've been there. I've felt that exhaustion, that frustration, that quiet desperation that keeps you awake at 3 in the morning wondering if things will ever change. Wondering if you're doing something wrong. Wondering if maybe you're just not meant to have what you desire. But here's what I've discovered, and I need you to really hear this. The problem isn't that you're not trying hard enough. The problem is that you've been trying in the wrong direction. You've been pushing against a door that opens inward. You've been speaking words of limitation when you should be speaking words of power. You've been describing your problems when you should be describing your solutions. You've been reinforcing what you don't want instead of claiming what you do want. And your subconscious mind, which is always listening, which never sleeps, which takes every word you say as a command, it has been creating exactly what you've been saying. Not because it's mean, not because it's punishing you, not because you've done something wrong, but simply because that's its job. It creates based on the instructions you give it, and for most of your life, you've been giving it the wrong instructions. You see, your subconscious mind is the most powerful force in your life. Think about this. Right now, as you're listening to me, your heart is beating without you thinking about it. Your lungs are breathing without you commanding them. Your food is digesting, your cells are regenerating. Your immune system is fighting off invaders. Cuts on your skin are healing. All of this is happening automatically, without any conscious effort from you. That's your subconscious mind at work. And here's the magnificent thing. The same power that heals your body, that runs all these automatic processes, is also the power that creates your circumstances. It attracts people into your life. It opens doors. It creates opportunities. It brings ideas. It guides you to the right place at the right time. But it can only work with the material you give it. And the material you give it is your thoughts, your feelings, and most powerfully, your words. Especially the words that come after, I am. Because when you say I am, you're making a declaration about your identity. You're telling your subconscious mind who you are. And your subconscious believes you. It accepts your declaration without question and immediately goes to work making sure your outer reality matches your declared identity. When you say, I am broke, your subconscious says, yes, master, I will create more situations that prove you are broke. When you say, I am sick, your subconscious says, yes, master, I will maintain this sickness. When you say, I am not good enough, your subconscious says, yes, master, I will make sure you feel inadequate and attract circumstances that confirm this. When you say I am unlucky, your subconscious says, yes, master, I will arrange things so that you experience misfortune. It's not being cruel. It's being obedient. It's doing exactly what you've programmed it to do. And this is where most people make their biggest mistake. They look at their current circumstances and describe them. They use their words to reinforce exactly what they don't want. I'm so tired all the time. I can't afford that. Nothing ever works out for me. I'm just not lucky in love. I always struggle with money. I'm not smart enough. I'm too old. I'm not talented. Every single one of these statements is a command to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious, being the faithful servant that it is, goes to work immediately making sure these statements remain true in your experience. But what if you could change the command? What if instead of describing your current reality, you could describe the reality you want? What if, instead of reinforcing your limitations, you could speak words that unlock your infinite potential? What if you could give your subconscious mind a new set of instructions, instructions that lead to health instead of sickness, abundance instead of lack, joy instead of sorrow, success instead of struggle? This is exactly what these 6 words do. They bypass all the resistance, all the doubt, all the old programming, and speak directly to your subconscious in the language it understands best. The language of assumption. The language of identity. The language of I am. Now, I've studied the mind for over 30 years. I've worked with people from every walk of life. Rich people who were miserable inside. Poor people who discovered inner wealth, and then outer wealth followed. Sick people who became well against all odds. Lonely people who found love when they'd given up hope. Successful people who felt like failures. Failures by the world's standards, who became successes. And through all of this, through thousands of conversations, thousands of cases, thousands of transformations, I've discovered patterns. There are certain phrases, certain combinations of words, that work better than others. Not because I invented them, but because I observed them working. I tested them on myself first. Then I shared them with others. I refined them. I simplified them. I distilled decades of study into their purest form. And what I'm sharing with you today is the result of all that work. The essence. The core. The most powerful formula I've ever discovered. These 6 words I'm about to give you aren't my creation. They're based on universal principles that have been understood by mystics and sages for thousands of years. They appear in the Bible, though hidden in metaphor and symbol. They appear in ancient wisdom texts from every culture. They've been taught by great spiritual masters throughout history. But they've been hidden in plain sight, buried under complicated language and religious doctrine and esoteric teaching. I've simply uncovered them and presented them in a way that anyone can use, regardless of their background or beliefs or education. You don't need to be religious to use these words. You don't need to be spiritual. You don't need a degree, or special knowledge, or years of meditation practice. You don't need to believe in anything, except the power of your own mind. And that power is real. It's scientific. It's proven. It's demonstrable. Every thought you think creates a chemical reaction in your brain. This is measurable. Scientists can see it on brain scans. Every word you speak sends electrical signals through your nervous system. Every emotion you feel releases hormones into your bloodstream. And when you speak certain words with feeling, with conviction, with assumption, you literally rewire your brain. You create new neural pathways, you change your energy, you shift your vibration. And when you change your energy, you change what you attract into your life. This isn't wishful thinking. This isn't fantasy. This isn't some new age nonsense. This is how reality actually works. Quantum physics has shown us that the observer affects the observed. Your consciousness literally shapes the physical world around you. Not in some vague, mystical way, but in a real, measurable way. The act of observation changes what is being observed. Your attention, your focus, your assumption about reality, actually influences what manifests in your experience. And the most powerful tool you have for directing your consciousness is your words. Especially the words you speak to yourself about yourself. Especially the words that begin with, I am. Because those words create your sense of identity. And your sense of identity creates your life. It's that simple and that profound. So right now, before I give you these 6 words, I want you to make a decision, a real decision. Not a half-hearted, I'll try this and see what happens. But a real commitment. Decide right now that you're going to practice what I'm about to teach you. Decide that you're going to speak these words every single day for the next 40 days minimum. Not because you necessarily believe they'll work right away, but because you're willing to test them. Because you're willing to give yourself a chance. Because you're tired of the old way, and you're ready for something new. And I want you to know something else. This isn't going to require hours of your time. This isn't going to be complicated. This isn't going to require special equipment, or a perfect environment, or ideal circumstances. All you need is a few minutes in the morning, a few minutes at night, and the willingness to speak 6 simple words with feeling. That's it. Anyone can do this. A child could do this. In fact, children are often better at this than adults, because they haven't yet learned to doubt, to question, to resist, to argue with the solution. So let go of your skepticism, for just a moment. Not forever. Just for now. Let go of all the times you've been disappointed before. Let go of all the techniques that didn't work. Let go of the voice that says, this won't work for me, or, I'm different, or, my situation is too bad, or, I've tried everything. That voice is just your old programming trying to protect you from change. But you don't need protection from change. You need change. You desperately need change. You need transformation. You need a new reality. And these 6 words are the key that will unlock it. But before I give you the 6 words, you must understand something crucial about how your mind actually works. And the best way to understand this is through stories. Real stories from real people whose lives were transformed. These aren't made-up tales to inspire you or motivate you. These are actual cases I've witnessed personally, people I've worked with, transformations I've seen with my own eyes. Because when you see that this worked for others, who were in situations just as difficult as yours, maybe even worse, you'll know it can work for you too. Let me tell you about a man who came to me several years ago. I'll call him David, though that's not his real name. David was a father, a good man, a hard-working man who loved his family with all his heart. But his young daughter, his precious little girl, had fallen ill with a serious condition that the doctors couldn't quite figure out. They ran test after test, gave her medication after medication, sent her to specialist after specialist, but nothing seemed to help, and with each doctor visit, with each specialist, with each treatment that didn't work, with each hospital stay, the medical bills piled higher and higher. David came to me, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he'd aged 10 years in 6 months. He hadn't slept properly in so long he couldn't remember what it felt like to wake up rested. He was working 2 jobs, sometimes 3, picking up every extra shift he could. He was borrowing money from relatives, from friends, from anyone who would lend it. He was doing everything humanly possible. Everything. He was praying. He was working. He was sacrificing. He was doing everything right, according to conventional wisdom. But it wasn't enough. The bills kept coming faster than he could pay them. The debt was growing like a monster that couldn't be killed. And worst of all, the thing that was truly breaking him, his daughter wasn't getting better, she was getting worse. He looked at me across my desk with tears in his eyes, and said something I'll never forget. He said, "Dr. Murphy, I've tried everything. I've prayed to God. I've worked until I can barely stand. I've done everything right. I'm a good person. I don't deserve this. My daughter doesn't deserve this. But nothing changes. I feel completely powerless. I feel like I'm drowning, and no one can hear me screaming for help." And I understood exactly how he felt. Because when you're watching someone you love suffer, especially your own child, when you're drowning in circumstances you can't control, when you're doing everything humanly possible, and it's still not enough, you do feel powerless. Your mind goes in circles. You worry at night. You replay conversations with doctors. You calculate bills you can't pay. You try to think positively. But it feels hollow, like you're lying to yourself. Because how can you think positively when everything around you is falling apart? How can you believe things will get better, when every day brings more bad news? So I looked at David and I said something that probably seemed crazy to him in that moment. I said, "David, you haven't tried what I'm about to teach you. You've tried everything the world tells you to try. You've tried work and effort, and struggle. But you haven't tried the one thing that actually has the power to change everything. You haven't tried changing your assumption about yourself, and your situation." And I shared with him the 6 words. I wrote them down on a piece of paper and handed it to him. He looked at the paper. Then he looked at me like I was insane. 6 words? His daughter was sick. He was drowning in debt. His marriage was straining under the pressure. His whole life was falling apart. And I was giving him 6 words on a piece of paper? I could see the skepticism in his eyes. I could see him thinking, I came here for real help, and this man is giving me a motivational phrase. But I also saw something else. I saw desperation. And sometimes, desperation is the greatest gift, because it makes you teachable. When you've tried everything else and nothing has worked, you become willing to try something that seems impossible or ridiculous or too simple to work. So David agreed. He said he would try. He promised me he would speak these 6 words every morning, when he woke up and every night before he went to sleep. I gave him specific instructions. I told him to speak them while holding the image of his daughter healthy and vibrant. I told him to see his finances restored, the bills paid, the stress gone. I told him to feel it is already done, not as something he was begging for or hoping might happen someday. I told him to assume the wish fulfilled, to live in the end, to make it real in his imagination before it became real in his world. For the first 2 weeks, David told me later, he felt nothing. The words felt empty. They felt like lies. His daughter was still sick. In fact, she got worse. The bills were still there. Nothing had changed in his physical reality. Everything looked exactly the same or worse. He told me he felt foolish speaking these words when his reality was screaming the opposite at him. But David had made a promise to me, and more importantly, to himself. He had committed to 40 days. So he kept going. Every morning, even when he felt ridiculous. Every night, even when he was exhausted and discouraged. Sometimes during the day, when fear would grip his heart like a cold hand, when he'd get another bill, or another bad report from the doctors, he would speak those 6 words. Not because he believed they were working, but because he had nothing else to hold on to. By the 3rd week, something started to shift. Not in his circumstances yet. The outer world still looked the same, but something shifted in him. He found himself less anxious. Still worried, yes. Still concerned about his daughter. Still stressed about the bills. But not consumed by it in the same way. Not drowning in it. He started sleeping a little better. Maybe an hour or 2 more than before. He told me it was like a tight knot inside his chest, that had been there for months, was slowly, gradually loosening. He couldn't explain it logically, but he felt different. Lighter. More hopeful. Not because circumstances had changed, but because something inside him had changed. And then, in the 4th week, something happened in the outer world. He remembered an old life insurance policy he had completely forgotten about from a job he'd had years ago. It popped into his mind one morning while he was speaking the 6 words. He called the company. And sure enough, the policy was still active and had built up some cash value. It wasn't a fortune, but it was enough to pay off a significant portion of the medical bills. Enough to give him breathing room. Then, about a week later, a friend called him out of the blue. They hadn't spoken in over a year. The friend had just started a new business and needed someone with David's skills. He offered David a position. Not just any position, but one that paid significantly more than what he was making at both his current jobs combined. Better hours. Better benefits. Health insurance that would cover his daughter's treatments. It seemed like a miracle. It seemed impossible. But there it was. But here's what really shook David to his core. Around the same time, his daughter started to improve. The doctors couldn't explain it. They said maybe the medication was finally taking effect, though they'd said the same medication wasn't working for months before. Maybe her body was finally healing itself. Maybe it was just one of those mysterious things that sometimes happens in medicine that they can't explain. They ran more tests, and her numbers were improving. Her energy was coming back. The color was returning to her face. She was smiling again. When David came back to see me about 3 months after our first meeting, he was a completely different man. Not just because his circumstances had changed, though they had dramatically. The bills were manageable. He had a good job. His daughter was recovering. But he was different on the inside. There was a light in his eyes that hadn't been there before. A confidence. A knowing. He had discovered something that changed his fundamental understanding of how life works. He said to me, and I remember this exactly, "Dr. Murphy, I finally understand what you meant. It wasn't the words themselves that changed my world. The words changed me first. They changed how I thought about myself and my situation. They changed my assumption about what was possible. They changed my internal state from victim to victor, from powerless to powerful. And when I changed on the inside, when my assumption changed, my outer world had to change too. It had no choice. That's the law. And that's the truth most people miss. They think these words are magic spells that manipulate reality from the outside. But they're not. They're keys that unlock the power that's already inside you. They're tools that reprogram your subconscious mind. They're methods for changing your assumption. And when your subconscious mind accepts a new assumption, when it accepts a new idea about who you are, and what's possible for you, your entire life reorganizes around that new pattern. Not someday, not eventually, but immediately, though the evidence may take time to appear in physical form. Now let me tell you about a woman I'll call Sarah. Sarah's story is different from David's, but the principle is exactly the same. The law is the same. Sarah came to me after losing everything. And I mean everything. Her husband had left her after 20 years of marriage. 20 years of building a life together, and one day he said he didn't love her anymore and walked out. In the divorce, she lost the house they'd built together, most of her savings, her sense of security, her sense of identity. She had built her whole life around being a wife, being part of a couple, being someone's partner, and suddenly she was alone. She fell into a deep depression. The kind that makes you not want to get out of bed. The kind that makes food taste like nothing, and colors look gray. She lost her job, because she couldn't function, couldn't focus, couldn't show up on time. She ended up living in a small room she could barely afford. A room with thin walls and a tiny window, barely big enough for a bed and a table. When she came to me, she was at the absolute bottom. Rock bottom. She had that look in her eyes that I've seen before, the look of someone who's given up, who's just going through the motions of living but isn't really alive anymore. Someone whose light has gone out. Sarah told me she believed she was being punished, that maybe she had done something wrong in a past life, or that God was angry with her for some reason she couldn't understand, or that she was just one of those people who life beats down. Some people are lucky, she said, and some people aren't, and she was in the unlucky group. She had completely lost any sense of her own worth. She looked at herself in the mirror, and saw a failure, a reject, someone who deserved to be alone and struggling, someone who wasn't good enough to be loved or happy or successful. I listened to her entire story, without interruption. I let her pour it all out, all the pain, all the bitterness, all the hopelessness. And when she was done, when she had said everything she needed to say, I looked at her and said, "Sarah, everything you just told me is a story you're telling yourself. It's not the truth. It's a story. And that story is creating your reality. But I'm going to give you a new story. 6 words. Just 6 words. And if you speak these 6 words every day with feeling, everything will change. Not because the words are magic, but because they will change your story, which will change your assumption, which will change your reality." She was skeptical. She almost laughed, but there was no joy in it. She said, "Dr. Murphy, with all due respect, I don't think 6 words can fix my life. My life is destroyed. I have nothing. I am nothing. 6 words aren't going to bring my husband back, or give me my house back, or make me feel like a person again." And I told her, "You're absolutely right. 6 words can't fix your life from the outside. But 6 words can fix your mind. And when your mind is fixed, when your assumption changes, when your story changes, your life has no choice but to follow. The outer always reflects the inner. Always. Without exception. That's the law." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she had heard me speak at a lecture a few weeks before, and something in my words had touched her enough that she stayed afterward to talk to me, to ask for help. So she agreed to try, not because she had faith, not because she thought it would work, but because she had nothing left to lose. And sometimes, having nothing left to lose is the greatest gift, because it means you're finally willing to try something completely different, something that contradicts everything you've been taught. For Sarah, the first 2 weeks were torture. She told me later that speaking those 6 words felt like lying to herself. It felt like denial. It felt like pretending. Here she was, alone in a tiny room, with barely enough money for food, depressed, and hopeless, and she was supposed to speak words that implied everything was already good? That she already had what she desired? It felt ridiculous. It felt false. It felt like adding insult to injury. She wanted to quit after the first few days. But I had warned her about this. I had told her that the words would feel like lies at first, because they contradicted everything her current reality was showing her. I told her that her conscious mind would resist, because it looks at the outer world and says, "But this isn't true. Look at the evidence. Look at your life." I told her that this resistance was normal, expected, and that she needed to keep going anyway. Not because she believed the words, but because she was planting new seeds in her subconscious mind. And seeds take time to germinate. They need to be watered daily. They need patience. They need faith in the process even when you can't see anything happening above ground. So Sarah persisted. Morning and night, she spoke those 6 words. She set an alarm to make sure she didn't forget. She wrote them on a card and put it by her bed. And something interesting happened in the 3rd week. She was saying the words one morning, lying in her small bed in her small room, and suddenly she started crying. Not sad crying, not the kind of crying she'd been doing for months, but a different kind, a release, like something that had been locked inside her for years, maybe for her whole life, finally broke open. She told me she felt this wave of compassion for herself, this sudden understanding that she wasn't a bad person, wasn't being punished, wasn't a failure. She was just a human being who had been through pain. And pain is part of being human. It doesn't mean you're broken, or unworthy, or cursed. It just means you're alive. And if you're alive, you can change, you can heal, you can begin again. That was the turning point for Sarah. From that moment of crying, in her small room, something softened inside her. The hard shell of bitterness and self-hatred started to crack. The words stopped feeling like lies, and started feeling like possibility. Not truth yet. She wasn't ready to call them truth, but not lies either. Just possibility. Maybe. Perhaps. What if? And then the external changes started. Slowly at first. She met a woman at the grocery store, a chance encounter in the produce section. They started talking. The woman was kind. They exchanged numbers. They met for coffee. The first real friend Sarah had made in years. That friend introduced her to someone who needed help with a project. Just a small thing, but it turned into paid work. The work led to another opportunity. That opportunity connected her with someone starting a business. Within 6 months, Sarah had moved to a better apartment, had a growing business helping other women rebuild their lives after divorce, and most importantly, had rediscovered herself. But here's what Sarah taught me, and this is so important I need you to really hear it. She told me that even if none of those external things had happened, even if she was still in that small room, even if the money hadn't come, the words had already changed her life. Because they changed how she felt about herself. They changed her inner state from victim to victor, from powerless to powerful, from worthless to worthy, from broken to whole. And that internal shift, she said, was the real miracle. That was the thing that mattered most. Everything else, all the external improvements, were just reflections of that internal transformation. Now let me tell you about a different kind of story, because I want you to see that these 6 words work for every situation, every problem, every type of person. A man I'll call Robert. Robert was, by all external measures, successful. Very successful. He had built a business that made him wealthy. Not just comfortable, but genuinely wealthy. He had a beautiful home in an expensive neighborhood. He had nice cars. He had all the things people think they want. He had achieved what most people spend their whole lives striving for. He came to me, not because he was broke or sick or lonely in the traditional sense. He came to me because he was empty. Completely, utterly empty. He told me that every morning he woke up and thought, what's the point? He had achieved everything he was supposed to achieve, according to society's standards, but he felt nothing. No joy. No satisfaction. No sense of purpose or meaning. He was going through the motions of a successful life, but inside he was hollow, dead. Going through the day like a robot. He told me, and this still breaks my heart to remember, that he had been seriously contemplating ending his life. Not in an impulsive way, but methodically, planning it out, because he thought, if this is all there is, if I have everything I'm supposed to want, and I still feel nothing, then what's the point of continuing? Here was a man, who had everything the world says should make you happy, and he was more miserable than people who had nothing. Why? Because he had spent his whole life chasing external things without ever connecting to his internal truth. He had built his life based on what others expected, what society valued, what would impress people, what his parents wanted for him, what would make him look successful. But none of it was really him. None of it came from his authentic self. He was living someone else's dream, and calling it his life. When I shared the 6 words with Robert, I explained them differently than I had to David or Sarah. I told him, Robert, these words aren't about getting more things. You have things. You have more things than most people will ever have. These words are about becoming who you really are underneath all the conditioning and expectation and pretending. They're about connecting to the truth that's been waiting inside you all along. They're about remembering yourself. Robert began speaking the 6 words, but he wasn't visualizing money, or success, or achievement, or anything external. He was visualizing peace, authenticity, connection to something real, a sense of meaning, a feeling of being alive instead of just existing. And an amazing thing happened over the following months. His external life didn't change much at first. He still had his business, his house, his cars. But his internal life transformed completely. He became a different person on the inside. He started making different choices. He stepped back from business deals that made money, but felt wrong in his gut. He stopped attending events that he hated, but felt he should attend. He started spending time on things that genuinely interested him, not things that impressed others. He reconnected with old passions he had abandoned in his 20s, when he decided to be serious, and responsible, and successful. He started painting again. He started playing music again. He started reading books that fed his soul, instead of just books that would help his business. And gradually, over months, he became a different person. Not different in a way others might notice immediately. Not a dramatic transformation on the outside. but different in the way he felt inside his own skin. Different in the way he moved through the world. Different in what mattered to him. Different in what he chose, and what he refused. He told me 6 months later, "Dr. Murphy, I finally understand what you meant. I had been living someone else's life, wearing someone else's mask, trying to be someone I wasn't. The 6 words didn't give me anything new externally, but they reminded me of who I actually am. They woke me up from a dream I didn't even know I was dreaming. They reconnected me to my authentic self, and that reconnection saved my life. And this taught me something profound about these words that I hadn't fully understood before. They're not just for manifestation of things. They're not just for attracting money or health, or relationships. They're for manifestation of self. They're for becoming who you truly are, underneath all the layers of conditioning and expectation, and fear, and pretending. And when you become who you truly are, when you align with your authentic self, everything else falls into place naturally. Not because you're chasing it, but because it's a natural expression of who you really are. One more story, and then I promise, I'll give you the words, and explain exactly how to use them. This is about a young woman I'll call Maria. Maria's story shows how these words can work, even in the most difficult circumstances, even when speaking itself seems impossible. Maria had severe anxiety. Panic disorder. The doctors called it. She could barely leave her home. Talking to people triggered panic attacks so severe she thought she was dying. Her heart would race. She couldn't breathe. She would shake and sweat and feel like the world was closing in on her. She had tried medication. Several different kinds. She had tried therapy. Different therapists. Different approaches. She had tried breathing exercises, meditation, yoga, everything the doctors and books recommended. Some things helped a little, took the edge off slightly, but the core problem remained. She was trapped in her own mind, imprisoned by fear, watching life pass by through a window, while unable to step outside and participate in it. When Maria came to me, or rather, when her mother brought her to me because Maria couldn't come alone, I could see how much she was suffering. She sat in the chair across from me with her eyes down. She could barely look at me. Her hands shook visibly. Just being in my office, just being away from home, was taking all her courage. Every cell in her body wanted to run back to her safe place. I knew that asking her to speak 6 words out loud would be almost impossible for her in that moment. Speaking felt dangerous to her, like exposing herself, like opening herself up to attack. So I did something different with Maria. I wrote the 6 words on a piece of paper in clear, simple letters, and I gave it to her. I said, "Maria, you don't have to speak these words out loud. Not yet. Not until you're ready. Just write them. Every morning and every night. Write these 6 words in a notebook. Write them slowly, carefully. Think about each word as you write it. Feel each word. Make it real in your mind as you write it." Maria could do that. Writing felt safe. It was just her and the paper, no one listening, no one judging, no pressure to perform or speak clearly or be heard. So she started writing the 6 words every morning when she woke up, and every night before she went to sleep. 1 word at a time, feeling each word as she wrote it, making it as real as she could in her imagination. And over the next few weeks, something gentle started to happen, so gentle she almost didn't notice it at first. She told me later that as she wrote the words, she would whisper them, just barely audible, just moving her lips, but something in her wanted to speak them even though she was afraid. Then the whispers got a little louder. She could hear herself saying them. Then she started saying them out loud to herself, in her room, when no one else was home. Then she started saying them before she had to go out, using them like an anchor, like a lifeline to hold on to when the anxiety came. The words became her safe place, her constant companion, her secret weapon. When panic started rising in her chest, when she felt the first flutter of fear, she would repeat the words in her mind. When she had to face something scary, like going to the store or talking to someone, she would say them first, sometimes dozens of times, until she felt calm enough to try. The words didn't make the anxiety disappear instantly. She wants people to know that. It wasn't a magic cure. But they gave her something to hold on to. They reminded her of something bigger than her fear. They reconnected her to a power within herself, that was stronger than the panic. And gradually, month by month, the anxiety loosened its grip. The panic attacks became less frequent, then less intense. She started going out more. First just to the mailbox, then to the store, then to a coffee shop. Started talking to people, first just a few words, then longer conversations. Started reclaiming her life piece by piece, step by step. A year later, when I saw her again, she was leading workshops helping other people with anxiety. The prisoner had become the liberator. The one who couldn't speak had become someone who spoke, to help others find their voice. Maria taught me that these 6 words heal, as they create. They don't just manifest external things. They heal internal wounds. They restore what was broken. They reconnect us to our own power. They work at the deepest level of being, which is why they work for every kind of problem, every kind of person, every kind of situation. Now you see from these 4 stories, from David and Sarah, and Robert and Maria, that something real happens when you speak these words correctly. This isn't theory. This isn't philosophy. This is practical. This is proven. This is real. But what are the words? And why do they work? Let me explain the science, and the spirit behind them, so you understand not just what to say, but why it works, and how to use it most effectively. The 6 words are these, and I want you to write them down right now. Say them with me right now. I am the thing I desire. That's it. 6 simple words. I am the thing I desire. Simple, aren't they? You might even be disappointed. You might have expected something more complicated, more mystical, more impressive, more ancient sounding, but that's the beauty of truth. It's always simple. It's we who complicate things with our elaborate theories and complicated systems. Truth is elegant, pure, straightforward. A child can understand it, and yet it contains everything. But don't let the simplicity fool you. These 6 words contain the entire universe. They contain every principle of manifestation, every law of mind, every secret of creation that has ever been taught. Let me break them down for you word by word so you understand exactly why they work and how to use them to transform your life. Let's start with the first 2 words. I am. These are the most powerful words in any language. Not just in English, but in every language. The sense of being. The sense of existence. The sense of, I exist, I am here, I am real. When God appeared to Moses in the burning bush and Moses asked God's name, what did God say? God said, I am that I am. Not I was, or I will be. I am. Present tense. Eternal existence. Pure being. The eternal now. And this same I am that is God's name is also your name. It's your true identity. Not your personality, with its likes and dislikes. Not your body with its height and weight and appearance. Not your circumstances with their temporary conditions. But the pure awareness, the pure consciousness, the pure being, that says, I exist. When you say I am, you're not talking about your limited human self. You're talking about the infinite consciousness that lives through you, the creative power that beats your heart without you thinking about it, the intelligence that grows your hair and heals your wounds and dreams your dreams. Your subconscious mind is directly connected to this infinite intelligence. In fact, your subconscious mind is the connection point between your limited human consciousness and the infinite consciousness of the universe. It's the bridge. It's the doorway. And when you speak words after I am, when you make a declaration about your identity, your subconscious takes those words as absolute truth, as commands about who and what you are. It doesn't argue. It doesn't question. It doesn't say, but let me check if this is really true. It simply accepts and immediately begins creating circumstances to match that identity. Think about this carefully. How many times a day do you say I am, followed by something limiting? I am tired. I am broke. I am sick. I am afraid. I am not good enough. I am too old. I am too young. I am sick. Unlucky. I am a failure. I am stupid. I am ugly. I am unwanted. Every single one of these statements is a command to your subconscious mind, and your subconscious, being the faithful, obedient servant it is, says, yes, Master, as you command. I will make sure this remains true in your experience. This is why your life is the way it is right now at this very moment. Everything you're experiencing, every habit, every circumstance, every relationship, every health condition, every financial situation, all of it can be traced back to the assumptions you've been making about yourself. The things you've been saying after, I am for years, maybe for decades. You have been creating your reality with your words all along, but you've been doing it unconsciously, automatically, speaking words of limitation out of habit. But here's the magnificent thing. The thing that changes everything. You can change those declarations right now. This very moment. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait for circumstances to change first. You don't need to earn it or deserve it, or become worthy of it. You simply decide to change what you say after I am. You simply give your subconscious a new set of instructions. And when you do this consistently, with feeling, your entire reality must change. Not because you're manipulating the universe, not because you're doing something magical, but because you're working with the law of mind, and law is dependable. Now, I want to be very clear about something because this confuses people. When you change what you say after, I am, it doesn't mean you're denying your current circumstances. If you have $10 in your bank account, you have $10. That's a fact. I'm not asking you to pretend the $10 is actually $10,000. But here's the crucial distinction. When you say, I am broke, you're not just describing the $10 in your account. You're claiming broke as your identity. You're telling your subconscious that broke is what you are, not just where you currently are. Do you see the difference? There's a huge difference between where you are and what you are. Where you are is temporary, it's circumstantial, it's changeable. What you are is your identity, and your subconscious treats your identity as permanent until you change it. So when you stop saying I am broke and start saying I am prosperous, you're not lying about the $10. You're changing your identity. You're giving your subconscious a new set of instructions. And when your identity changes, when your subconscious accepts that new identity, the $10 won't be $10 for long. Opportunities will come. Ideas will come. Resources will appear. Your circumstances will shift to match your new identity. Every time you catch yourself saying I am, followed by something negative, you must immediately stop and correct it. This is crucial. This is one of the most important things I can tell you. If you say, I am so stupid for making that mistake, stop yourself immediately, and say, no. I am intelligent. I am capable. I am learning and growing. Don't let those negative I am statements sit in your subconscious uncorrected. They're too powerful. They create too quickly. They sink too deep. Now let's look at the third word. The. This might seem like an insignificant word, just a little article that we use all the time without thinking about it. But it's actually vital to the power of this formula. The makes it specific. The makes it definite. The makes it singular. The removes all ambiguity and uncertainty. You're not saying, I am a thing I desire, or I am something I desire someday, maybe hopefully, if I'm lucky. You're saying, I am the thing I desire, the thing, not one possibility among many. Not something that might happen in the future. The thing. The specific, definite, singular thing that you desire. The thing that is yours. The thing that is already selected for you. The thing that is already done in the invisible world, and is now manifesting in the visible world. Your subconscious mind responds to certainty. It responds to clarity. It responds to definiteness of purpose. When you're vague, when you're wishy-washy, when you're uncertain, your subconscious doesn't know what to create. It's like giving someone directions by saying, go somewhere over there. I think, maybe that direction, I'm not really sure. Just kind of wander around, and hopefully you'll find it. They can't follow that. They don't know where to go. But when you say, go to the house on the corner at the address, they know exactly where to go. They can follow clear directions. When you say, the thing, you're claiming it. You're declaring ownership. You're saying this isn't one possibility among many. This isn't something you're hoping for, or wishing for, or dreaming about. This is the one. This is mine. This is done. This is already true in the invisible realm of mind, and is now becoming visible in my experience. And your subconscious responds to that level of conviction, that level of certainty, that level of definite knowing. Most people make the mistake of speaking in possibilities and uncertainties, and maybes. They say things like, I might be successful someday, or, I hope to be healthy eventually, or, maybe I'll find love if I'm lucky, or, perhaps things will work out. And their subconscious hears that uncertainty, that doubt, that lack of conviction, and it creates more uncertainty, more waiting, more hoping, more maybe, more someday. But when you use the, you cut through all that. You eliminate doubt. You remove uncertainty. You declare with authority. You're not hoping. You're not wishing. You're not waiting for permission from the universe or from God, or from circumstances. You're claiming what's already yours. You're declaring it with the authority that comes from understanding the law, from knowing how mind works, from recognizing your divine inheritance as a child of infinite intelligence. Now we come to the next word, and this is where it gets really interesting. Thing. Why didn't I say, I am the success I desire, or, I am the wealth I desire, or, I am the health I desire, or, I am the love I desire? Why did I use the general word thing? This is actually the genius of the formula, and when you understand this, you'll see why these 6 words work better than any other affirmation or technique I've ever found. Here's why. Thing can be anything. Health, wealth, love, peace, opportunity, recognition, healing, freedom, joy, purpose, success, relationships, creativity, wisdom, anything you desire. Thing covers it all. This means you don't need 100 different affirmations for 100 different desires. You don't need to remember complicated phrases, or spend hours figuring out the perfect words for each specific goal. You don't need different formulas for different areas of your life. You have one simple statement that works for everything. I am the thing I desire. And each time you speak it, you hold in your mind the clear mental image of your specific desire. You feel yourself already having it, being it, living it, experiencing it. The word thing is flexible enough to accommodate any desire, but specific enough in your mind and heart to direct your creative power exactly where you want it to go. Let me give you some concrete examples, so you understand exactly how to use this. If your desire is health, you say, I am the thing I desire, while holding the image of yourself perfectly healthy. You see yourself strong, energetic, pain-free, vibrant. You feel how it feels to move in a healthy body. You hear the doctor say, everything looks perfect, you're in excellent health. You touch your body and feel vitality and strength. You see yourself doing things you can't do now, because of your current condition. You make it real in your imagination, as real as you possibly can, while speaking the words. If your desire is abundance, financial freedom, money, you say, I am the thing I desire. While feeling yourself prosperous and abundant, you see your bank account with plenty of money, more than enough to cover all your needs and wants. You feel the relief of not worrying about bills anymore. You imagine making purchases without stress, or fear, or checking the price. You feel generous because you have more than enough. You see yourself helping others because you have resources to share. You feel secure, free, abundant. You make that feeling of prosperity and abundance as real as possible, while speaking the words. If your desire is love, a relationship, connection, you say I am the thing I desire, while feeling yourself in a beautiful, loving relationship. You see yourself with someone who loves you deeply, and whom you love deeply. You feel arms around you. You hear words of affection and appreciation. You feel valued, cherished, chosen, wanted. You imagine conversations and laughter and connection. You feel the warmth of being loved and the joy of loving. You make that feeling of being in a loving relationship as real as possible, while speaking the words. If your desire is peace of mind, freedom from anxiety or depression, you say, I am the thing I desire, while feeling peaceful, calm, centered. You see yourself going through your day with a quiet mind. You feel relaxed and at ease. You imagine situations that used to stress you and see yourself handling them with grace and calm. You feel the lightness of not carrying worry and fear. You make that feeling of inner peace as real as possible, while speaking the words. Do you see how this works? The words stay exactly the same every time, but the feeling and the image change based on your specific desire. And here's what's beautiful and practical about this. You can use these same 6 words for multiple desires. You don't need to choose just one. In the morning, you might focus on health while speaking the words. In the evening, on abundance. During the day when you're stressed, on peace. Before a meeting, on success. The words work for everything because they're working at the level of identity, not at the level of specific circumstances. Your subconscious mind is incredibly intelligent. It's connected to infinite intelligence. It knows what you desire. It can feel what you're visualizing and feeling as you speak the words. It doesn't need you to spell everything out in long, detailed, complicated affirmations. It needs you to claim your identity as someone who already has what they desire. It needs you to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And that's exactly what these 6 words help you do in the most efficient, powerful way possible. Now, some of you might be thinking, but Dr. Murphy, shouldn't I be more specific? Shouldn't I say exactly what I want in detail? And I understand that question. But here's what I've learned through decades of practice and observation. When you're too specific, especially at the beginning, when you're just learning this, you create resistance in your own mind. Your conscious mind gets in the way. It looks at your detailed affirmation and says, but I don't have that specific thing. This is a lie. This feels ridiculous. I'm just making things up. But when you use the word thing, your conscious mind doesn't resist as much. It's vague enough that your critical faculty, your logical mind, doesn't immediately reject it. But it's specific enough, in your inner imagination, in your feeling, in your visualization, that your subconscious knows exactly what to create. It's the perfect balance between being specific enough to direct your power and being general enough to avoid resistance. And here's something else that's really important. Sometimes we think we know exactly what we want, but we're actually limiting ourselves. We ask for a specific job when the universe has something better waiting. We ask for a specific person when our true soulmate is someone we haven't met yet. We ask for a specific amount of money when we could receive so much more. We're thinking small because we can only imagine based on what we've experienced or seen before. When you say, I am the thing I desire, and focus on the feeling rather than the exact form, you allow infinite intelligence to bring you what you desire in the best possible way. You're not limiting the universe to your small, limited human imagination. You're opening yourself to possibilities beyond what you can currently conceive. You're saying, I know what I desire in terms of the feeling, the essence, the quality, and I trust infinite intelligence to bring it to me in the perfect form. But make no mistake, and this is crucial. You must still be clear in your own mind and heart about what you desire. You must hold the image. You must feel the feeling. The word thing isn't an excuse to be vague or unclear in your own mind. It's a flexible container for your very specific desire. Think of it like this. Thing is the wrapper, the package, the vessel. But inside that wrapper is your clear, specific, deeply felt desire. The wrapper allows the formula to work for any desire, but the contents are specific to you. Now let me tell you about the most important principle that makes these words work. This is the foundation of everything. Once you understand this principle, you'll understand not just these 6 words but how all of manifestation works, how all of creation works, how reality itself works. This principle is called assumption, and it's the most powerful force in the universe. Neville Goddard, a great teacher of truth who understood these principles deeply, taught that assumption is the foundation of all creation. He said we must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. We must live in the end. We must act as if the thing we desire is already true, not as if it might become true someday in the future. Not hope or wish or want, but assume it's already done. And this is exactly what our 6 words do when you speak them correctly. When you say, I am the thing I desire, you're not saying, I hope to be, or, I want to be, or, someday I might be, or, if I'm lucky I'll be. You're saying I am. Right now. Present tense. Current reality. Already done. Already true. This is assumption in its purest form. You're assuming the thing is already true. even though your physical senses show you something different. You're taking it for granted. You're claiming it as fact, regardless of what your eyes see or your circumstances show. And when you assume something with feeling, with conviction, with persistence, when you make that assumption real in your inner world, your entire being reorganizes around that assumption. Your thoughts change. Your feelings change. Your actions change. Your energy changes. And as you change internally, your external world must change to match. That's the law. That's how it works. Without exception. Let me explain the mechanism, so you understand why this works. Your subconscious mind cannot tell the difference between a real experience and a vividly imagined experience. This has been proven scientifically, in multiple studies. When you imagine something with all your senses, when you make it emotionally real in your mind, your brain creates the same neural pathways as if you had actually experienced it physically. This is why athletes use visualization and mental rehearsal. They imagine themselves making the perfect shot, running the perfect race, performing the perfect routine. And their body actually learns from that imagined experience. Their muscles create memory. Their nervous system creates patterns. When the actual moment comes, they've already done it hundreds of times in their mind, so their body knows what to do. This is why people with phobias can be helped through imaginal therapy, through experiencing the scary situation in their imagination, in a safe, controlled way, until it no longer triggers fear. The mind learns that the situation is safe, even though they haven't physically experienced it yet. The imaginal experience is real enough to reprogram the fear response. Your subconscious mind doesn't care whether something happened, out there, in the physical world, or in here, in your imagination. An experience is an experience. A feeling is a feeling. Reality is reality, whether internal or external. And when you repeatedly imagine and feel yourself as already having what you desire, when you assume it as true in your imagination, when you make it real in your inner world, your subconscious accepts it as fact. It says, okay, this is who we are now. This is our reality now. Let me adjust everything to match this. And here's where it gets really interesting. Where the magic really happens. Once your subconscious accepts something as fact, once it accepts your new assumption as your identity, it begins to work 24 hours a day to make your outer reality match your inner reality. It doesn't rest. It doesn't take breaks. While you're sleeping, while you're eating, while you're working, while you're doing anything else, your subconscious is busy behind the scenes arranging circumstances, attracting opportunities, changing your energy, making you notice things you never noticed before, guiding you to take actions you wouldn't have taken before, connecting you with people who can help, removing obstacles, opening doors. All of this happens automatically, without conscious effort, without struggle, without strain. You don't have to figure out how it's going to happen. You don't have to make a plan. You don't have to force anything. Your job is simply to maintain the assumption, to keep feeling it real, to keep speaking your truth. Your subconscious handles all the details, working with infinite intelligence to orchestrate everything perfectly. Look at your life right now in this moment. Everything you're experiencing, your health, your wealth, your relationships, your circumstances, your opportunities, your limitations, all of it exists because of assumptions you made in the past. Maybe you didn't make them consciously. Maybe you don't even remember making them. Maybe they came from your childhood, from things your parents said, from experiences that hurt you, from society's messages, from failures and disappointments. But at some point, consciously or unconsciously, you assumed certain things were true about yourself, about life, about what's possible for you. And your subconscious said, okay, that's what we believe. That's our reality. Let me create evidence for that belief. Let me make sure your outer experience matches your inner assumption. And it did. Perfectly. Consistently. Faithfully. Your life right now is a perfect mirror of your deepest assumptions about yourself and reality. Not your wishes. Not your hopes. Not what you say you want. But your actual assumptions, the things you deep down believe and take for granted about who you are. But here's the magnificent, liberating, exciting truth that changes everything. You can change your assumptions right now. This very moment. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need to wait for circumstances to change first. You don't need to earn it or deserve it or become worthy of it. You don't need years of therapy or healing, or personal development. You simply change your assumption, plant the new seed, speak the new words, claim the new identity, and everything else must follow. Not someday, not eventually, but starting immediately. Though the evidence may take time to fully manifest in physical form, when you speak the 6 words, I am the thing I desire, you are planting a new assumption in your subconscious mind. You're saying, this is true about me. This is my new reality. This is who I am now. This is already done. And if you persist in that assumption, if you repeat it morning and night with feeling, if you refuse to accept any thought or feeling that contradicts it, if you live from it and think from it and act from it, your subconscious will eventually accept it fully. And once it accepts it completely, once that new assumption becomes your automatic default, miracles begin. What seemed impossible becomes inevitable. What was blocked becomes open. What was difficult becomes easy. Now I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, but Dr. Murphy, if I say I am healthy when I'm sick, or I am wealthy when I'm broke, or I am loved when I'm alone, isn't that lying? Isn't that denial? Isn't that just pretending and ignoring reality? And this is such a crucial point, such an important thing to understand, that I need to address it very carefully. You're not denying your current circumstances. You're not pretending they don't exist. You're not lying to yourself. You're acknowledging that your current circumstances are simply the result of your old assumptions, your old thoughts, your old words, your old beliefs. They're the harvest from seeds you planted in the past, perhaps long ago. And while you accept that harvest without fighting it, or resisting it, or making it worse by giving it power, you're now planting new seeds. You're creating a new cause that will produce a new effect. You're changing the assumption that created the current circumstances. There are 2 levels of reality operating simultaneously. There's the objective, physical, external reality that your 5 senses show you, the reality of facts and circumstances and conditions. And there's the subjective, mental, internal reality that your imagination shows you, the reality of assumptions and beliefs and feelings. Right now, in this moment, the objective reality might say you're broke, or sick, or alone. Fine. Accept that fact without giving it power, without making it your identity, without declaring, I am this condition. But in your subjective reality, in your imagination, in your assumption, you are prosperous, or healthy, or loved. You feel it. You live from it. You think from it. You assume it. You make it real, in your inner world, even though it's not yet visible, in your outer world. And which reality is more powerful? Which reality actually creates? Which one is primary, and which one is secondary? The subjective reality is more powerful. The mental reality creates. The imaginal reality is the cause. Because everything in the physical world, everything you can see and touch and measure, was first created in someone's imagination, in someone's mind. Your house existed in an architect's mind, before it existed in wood and brick. Your phone existed in an engineer's mind, before it existed in metal and glass. Your car, your clothes, every man-made thing you see around you started as a thought, an idea, an imaginal act, a mental creation. Imagination creates reality. Assumption creates reality. Mind creates matter. Consciousness creates circumstance. This is not philosophy. This is not belief. This is law. This is how reality actually works. The invisible creates the visible. The subjective creates the objective. The inner creates the outer. Always. Without exception. So you're not lying when you assume health while currently sick. You're creating. You're not denying when you assume wealth while currently broke. You're determining. You're not pretending when you assume love while currently alone. You're practicing the ancient art of assumption that has been taught by mystics and masters for thousands of years. You're working with the creative power of imagination. You're using the law. And here's the key, the secret, the thing that makes it actually work. You must assume it with feeling, not just words mechanically repeated. Not just thoughts passively entertained, but feeling, emotion, the sense of reality, the feeling of it being true. Feeling is the secret. Feeling is what impresses the subconscious. Feeling is what makes imagination real. You can say, I am the thing I desire, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. But if you don't feel it, if you don't make it emotionally real, if you're just speaking words while your heart says, this isn't true, I'm just saying words, nothing is changing, then nothing will happen. Your subconscious hears the doubt, feels the disbelief, senses the emptiness behind the words, and it ignores them completely. But when you speak the 6 words with feeling, really feeling yourself as already having what you desire, really feeling the joy or relief, or satisfaction, or peace, or excitement, then your subconscious pays attention. Then it says, oh, this is real. This is important. This is true. Let me make this happen in the outer world to match what's happening in the inner world. So every time you say, I am the thing I desire, you must pause after speaking the words and feel it. Not think about it, not analyze it, not question it, but feel it. If your desire is health, feel the energy and vitality in your body. Feel what it's like to move freely and painlessly. Feel the joy of being well. If it's abundance, feel the security and freedom and relief. Feel what it's like to not worry about money. Feel generous and abundant. If it's love, feel the warmth and connection. Feel what it's like to be cherished. Make it emotionally real. Let yourself fully experience it in your imagination as if it's happening right now. And I promise you, I guarantee you, if you do this consistently, if you speak these words with real feeling every day, your outer world will begin to reflect your inner world. It must. It's law. It's as certain as gravity. It's as dependable as the sun rising. Just as gravity always works, just as the sun always rises, this law always works. Your assumptions create your reality. Change the assumption, change the reality. Feed the subconscious new instructions, get new results. Plant new seeds, harvest new crops. Now let me explain what happens in your mind when you speak these words correctly, when you do this practice faithfully. I want you to understand the actual mechanism, so you're not just blindly following instructions, but understanding what's happening and why it works. Your subconscious mind is like a garden. It's soil. It's neutral, impartial, non-judgmental. It doesn't care what you plant in it. It doesn't distinguish between good seeds and bad seeds, between helpful seeds and harmful seeds, between what you want and what you don't want. It will grow weeds just as readily as flowers. It will grow poison just as readily as fruit. It will grow poverty just as readily as prosperity. It accepts whatever seeds you give it and grows them faithfully, perfectly, without question or judgment. For years, probably for most of your life, you've been planting seeds of limitation in your garden. I'm not enough. I can't do that. That's not for people like me. I never have enough money. I always get sick. No one loves me. I'm not smart. I'm not talented. I'm unlucky. Life is hard. I can't catch a break. Negative seed after negative seed, day after day, year after year, decade after decade. And your subconscious garden has grown exactly what you planted. A harvest of limitation, lack, fear, struggle, problems, difficulties. But now you're going to plant new seeds. 6 words, spoken twice a day minimum, are like planting the most powerful seeds in existence in your garden. I am the thing I desire. You're planting seeds of possibility, of abundance, of health, of love, of success, of everything you truly want. And your subconscious will grow these seeds, just as faithfully as it grew the old ones. It has no choice. That's what it does. That's its nature. It grows what you plant. But you must be patient like a farmer. A farmer doesn't plant corn seeds and expect fully grown corn the next morning. He doesn't dig up the seeds every day to see if they're growing. He plants the seeds properly. He waters them regularly. He trusts the process. He has faith in nature. And he allows the growing to happen in its own time. He knows the seeds are working beneath the surface, even when he can't see anything happening above ground. In the same way, you plant these words in your subconscious garden. You water them with daily repetition and feeling. You trust the law. You have faith in the process. And you allow your subconscious to do its work, beneath the surface of your awareness. You don't dig up the seeds by constantly checking. Is it working yet? Why don't I see results yet? Maybe this doesn't work. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. You just maintain your assumption. Speak your words. Feel your feelings. And trust. How long does it take? This is always the question people ask. And I understand why. You want to know when you'll see results. When will the evidence appear? When will things change? And here's what I've observed over decades. Usually, you'll start seeing evidence within 30 to 40 days of consistent, faithful practice. Sometimes sooner, sometimes a bit longer. It depends on several factors. It depends on how deeply entrenched your old assumptions are. If you've been assuming poverty for 30 years, it might take a bit longer to override than if you've only been assuming it for 3 years. It depends on how consistently you practice. If you do it faithfully morning and night without missing days, it works faster. If you do it sporadically, missing days, doubting, it takes longer. It depends on how much feeling you put into the words. If you're just mechanically repeating without feeling, it takes much longer. If you're really feeling it, making it real emotionally, it works faster. But the general guideline is 30 to 40 days, for most people to start seeing clear external evidence that something has shifted, and there's actually a scientific basis for this timeline. Studies have shown that it takes approximately 30 to 60 days to form a new neural pathway in the brain, to create a new habit, to establish a new pattern of thinking and being. This is the biological basis for what we're doing. You're literally rewiring your brain, creating new connections, establishing new default patterns of thought and feeling. And once those new patterns are firmly established, they become automatic. They become your new normal. They become who you are. But here's what's really important, what I need you to understand. During those first 30 to 40 days, you might not see much change in your outer circumstances. You might see no change at all. Everything might look exactly the same. This is where most people give up. They speak the words for a week, maybe 2 weeks. Nothing visible changes in their life, and they say, "See? I knew it wouldn't work. This is just more positive thinking nonsense. Nothing ever works for me." And they quit. They give up right before the breakthrough, right before the seeds were about to sprout above ground. Think of it like boiling water. You put a pot of water on the stove. You turn on the heat, and nothing seems to be happening. The water looks exactly the same. You wait 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 8 minutes, and still nothing. The water is just sitting there looking exactly like it did when you started. It would be easy to say, "This doesn't work. The heat isn't doing anything," and turn off the stove and give up. But if you keep the heat on, if you trust the process, if you're patient, suddenly, at exactly 212 degrees Fahrenheit, everything changes in an instant. The water doesn't gradually ease into boiling. It's not boiling, and then suddenly it is. Boom. Transformation. The change happens, but it only happens because you kept the heat on, even when nothing seemed to be happening. It's exactly the same with your subconscious mind. You're applying heat. The heat of your words, your feeling, your assumption, your imagination, your faith. And for a while, nothing seems to change in the outer world. The circumstances look the same. The bank account has the same amount. The body feels the same. The relationship situation is unchanged. But keep the heat on. Keep speaking the words. Keep feeling the feeling. Keep maintaining the assumption. And suddenly, at the perfect moment, when the accumulation reaches critical mass, everything will shift. The transformation will happen. The evidence will appear. The breakthrough will come. And here's something beautiful that I want you to watch for. Even if you don't see external evidence right away, you will notice internal evidence almost immediately. You'll feel different within days. More peaceful, more confident, more hopeful, less anxious, less worried, less controlled by circumstances, less reactive to problems, This internal shift is actually the real miracle, the real transformation. The external changes are just reflections of it, just evidence of it, just the outer matching the inner. Some people, and I've seen this happen many times, see results in just a few days. I've known people who spoke these words for 3 days, and received an unexpected check in the mail, or had an old debt forgiven, or had a relationship suddenly heal, or got a job offer out of nowhere. It happens. Rapid manifestation is possible when the subconscious accepts the new assumption quickly, when there's not much resistance, when the person is really feeling it with total conviction. But don't count on that. Don't make it a test. Don't say I'll try this for 3 days and if nothing happens I'll stop. That's setting yourself up for failure. That's approaching it from doubt, rather than faith. Just commit to 40 days minimum, regardless of what happens, or doesn't happen. Commit to doing it whether you see evidence or not. Trust the law. Trust the process. Trust yourself. Trust your subconscious. Trust infinite intelligence. Now let me tell you exactly how to practice this. This is so important. You can have the most powerful words in the universe. You can understand all the theory perfectly. But if you don't use the words correctly in practice, if you don't actually do the work, they won't help you. So pay very close attention to what I'm about to tell you. These are the exact practices that will change your life. First practice, the morning ritual, and this is absolutely essential, non-negotiable. Every single morning, immediately when you wake up, before you get out of bed, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you do anything else, while you're still in that drowsy state between sleeping and waking, I want you to lie still and do this practice. This timing is crucial, because your subconscious mind is most receptive in those first few moments after waking. You're coming out of sleep, where your conscious mind was shut off, and your subconscious was active, working on your assumptions all night. The barrier between conscious and subconscious is thinnest right when you wake up. This is the golden moment, the perfect time to plant new seeds. Lie there in your bed. Don't move yet. Don't open your eyes yet if you can help it. Close your eyes if they're open. Take 3 slow, deep breaths to center yourself, to calm yourself, to prepare yourself. Then bring into your mind a clear image of what you desire. See it vividly. If it's health, see yourself vibrant and strong, doing things you want to do, moving freely. If it's money, see your bank account, see yourself paying bills easily, see yourself making purchases without worry. If it's love, see yourself with someone, feel arms around you, hear words of love. Make it as real and detailed as possible, in your imagination. While holding this image clearly, while feeling this feeling strongly, speak the 6 words out loud. I am the thing I desire. Say it slowly, deliberately, meaningfully. Don't rush. Let each word sink in deeply. I am the thing I desire. Feel each word. Mean each word. Make each word real. Repeat it 10 times minimum, each time feeling it more deeply, making it more real, assuming it more completely. And then, this is really important, end with gratitude. Say, thank you. It is done. Amen. Or whatever words feel right and natural to you. But express gratitude, as if you've already received what you desire. Because in the world of mind, in the world of assumption, in the invisible realm where all things exist as possibilities, you have received it. It's already yours. You're just waiting for it to materialize in physical form, to become visible in time and space. Do this for 3 to 5 minutes every morning. That's all it takes. 3 to 5 minutes to change your entire life trajectory. Anyone can do this. You don't need a perfect quiet environment. You don't need complete silence. You can do this even if there are people in your house moving around. Even if you have to whisper the words very quietly so no one hears. Even if circumstances aren't ideal. Just do it. Make it happen. Make it non-negotiable. Second practice, the evening ritual. Every night, do the same practice before you fall asleep. This is the other critical time, equally important as the morning. The last thoughts you have before sleep are the thoughts that your subconscious works on all night long. While you're sleeping, While your conscious mind is offline, your subconscious is busy creating, arranging, attracting, making things happen according to your last waking assumption. Give it the right instructions before you sleep. Lie in bed, comfortable, ready to sleep. Review your day briefly without judgment. If things went well, fine, acknowledge that. If they didn't go well, that's fine too. Acknowledge that without making it mean anything about you or your worth or your future. You're not judging your day as good or bad. You're just acknowledging it, and then letting it go completely. Release the day. It's over. It's done. Let it go. Then bring your desire into your mind again. See it. Feel it. Make it emotionally and sensually real. And speak the 6 words. I am the thing I desire. Repeat them slowly, feeling them deeply, until you feel peaceful. Until you feel like it's true. Until you feel satisfied and complete. Then give thanks again, and fall asleep in that feeling of gratitude and completion and certainty. If you fall asleep while speaking, or feeling these words, that's absolutely perfect. That's ideal. You're literally going to sleep in the assumption of the wish fulfilled, which is exactly what Neville Goddard taught as the most powerful practice. Your last waking thought is your seed planted in the subconscious for the night's work. You're handing your subconscious the blueprint and saying, work on this while I sleep. Create this, arrange this, make this happen. And it will. These 2 practices, morning and evening, are non-negotiable. You must do them every single day for at least 40 days minimum. Miss a day, and you break the momentum, you interrupt the process. Your subconscious needs consistency. It needs repetition. It needs to hear this message over and over and over until it accepts it as truth, until it becomes your new default assumption, until it's automatic. Now I'm going to give you 3 additional practices that will dramatically accelerate your results. These are optional, you can do them or not. But I highly recommend them because they work powerfully in combination with the morning and evening practices. 3rd practice, the mirror technique. Once during the day, perhaps after your shower in the morning, or before you leave the house, or whenever it fits naturally into your routine, stand in front of a mirror. Look directly into your own eyes. Don't just glance at yourself. Really look. Look deeply into your own eyes. This might feel uncomfortable at first. Most people avoid looking deeply into their own eyes, because it's intimate, it's vulnerable, it forces you to see yourself truly. But do it anyway. And while looking directly into your own eyes, speak the 6 words out loud. I am the thing I desire. Say it directly to yourself. You're talking to your subconscious, to your deeper self, to your true self, to the infinite intelligence within you. See the person you're becoming. See the version of you who already has what you desire. Feel love, and acceptance, and appreciation for yourself. This might bring up emotion. You might feel tears coming. Let them come. This is powerful work. This practice creates a direct neural connection between the words and your self-image. When you say the words while looking at yourself, your brain links them to your identity in a profound and immediate way. Do this for just 2 minutes, once a day, and it will dramatically accelerate your results. The mirror technique is one of the most powerful tools for rapid reprogramming. 4th practice. The pocket reminder. Write the 6 words I am the thing I desire on a small card. Make it neat and clear. Carry this card with you everywhere. In your pocket, in your purse, in your wallet, in your car. And throughout the day, whenever you touch it, whenever you see it, whenever you think of it, mentally repeat the words. Don't necessarily say them out loud. Just think them. Feel them. This doesn't have to be a big production. You're standing in line at the store. You touch the card in your pocket. You think the words and feel your desire. You're driving to work. You glance at the card on your dashboard. You think the words and feel your desire. You're sitting at your desk feeling stressed. You see the card. You think the words and feel peaceful. You're in a meeting feeling anxious. You touch the card. You think the words and feel confident. These micro moments add up. They accumulate. They keep your mind aligned with your desire throughout the day. They prevent you from falling back into old patterns of negative thinking, worrying, doubting, fearing. They interrupt the automatic negative thought loops that used to run all day. They replace the old default programming with new programming. Fifth practice. And this might be the most important of all, because this is where most people sabotage themselves, without even realizing it. The challenge response. Throughout your day, challenges will arise. This is normal. This is life. Bills will come. Problems will occur. Someone will say something negative. You'll feel fear or doubt, or worry. Something won't go according to plan. You'll face an obstacle. This is guaranteed to happen. But here's what you must do, and this is crucial. The moment you feel fear, worry, doubt, or negativity, the instant you notice it, immediately, right away, without hesitation, speak the 6 words. Either out loud if you're alone, or mentally if you're with others. I am the thing I desire. Don't fight the negative thought. Don't argue with it. Don't try to push it away, or suppress it. Don't analyze where it came from. Just interrupt it by speaking your truth. The negative thought says, "You can't afford this." You immediately respond, "I am the thing I desire," while feeling abundant. The negative thought says, "You're never going to get better." You immediately respond, "I am the thing I desire," while feeling healthy. The negative thought says, "They don't like you." You immediately respond, "I am the thing I desire," while feeling loved and confident. This is how you reprogram in real time. This is how you stop the old patterns from re-establishing themselves every time a challenge appears. Every time you interrupt a negative thought or feeling with these 6 words, you're weakening the old neural pathway and strengthening the new one. You're training your mind to default to power instead of to fear, to truth instead of to lies, to faith instead of to doubt. Over time, if you're faithful with this practice, if you consistently interrupt negativity with your 6 words, you will notice something amazing happening. The negative thoughts come less frequently. They have less power when they do come. They don't disturb your peace the way they used to. They don't throw you off balance. They don't control your mood or your actions, because you've trained your mind to automatically return to the truth. I am the thing I desire. These 5 practices, morning ritual, evening ritual, mirror technique, pocket reminder, challenge response, will transform your life completely if you do them consistently and faithfully. Not because they're magic. Not because I said so. Not because you're trying to manipulate reality. But because they work with the law of mind. They reprogram your subconscious. They change your assumptions. They plant new seeds. They create new neural pathways. They shift your identity. And when your assumptions change, when your identity changes, your reality must change to match. That's law. Now, I want to address some questions and concerns that I know are coming up for some of you. First question. What if I don't believe the words? What if they feel fake and I can't make myself believe them? This is completely normal. In fact, it's expected. Almost everyone feels this way at first. Remember Sarah's story? She felt like she was lying to herself for the first 2 weeks. But she kept going anyway. Here's the truth that will set you free. You don't need to believe the words for them to work. What you need is to speak them with feeling, as if they were true. There's a difference between believing and acting as if you believe. Belief will come later, as a result of the practice, as evidence appears, as you see things changing, but you don't need belief to start. You just need willingness to try, willingness to persist, willingness to feel. Think of it like this. An actor doesn't believe they're Romeo, or Juliet or Hamlet. But when they perform the role, they act as if they are. They speak the character's words. They feel the character's feelings. They think the character's thoughts. They make the character's reality. Their reality for the duration of the performance. And something magical happens. The audience believes them. The actor themselves starts to experience aspects of the character's reality. The line between actor and character blurs. You're acting the part of someone who already has what they desire. You're speaking their words. You're feeling their feelings. You're thinking their thoughts. You're assuming their assumption. And your subconscious mind, which cannot tell the difference between a superb performance and reality, between vivid imagination and physical experience, accepts it as real. The belief comes as a result of the practice, not as a prerequisite for it. So don't wait until you believe to start. Start now, right now, today. Act as if you believe. Speak as if you believe. Feel as if you believe. And belief will catch up. It will develop naturally as you practice, and as evidence begins to appear. Second question. Can I use these words for multiple desires at once? I want health and money and love. Can I do all of them? And the answer is yes. Absolutely yes. Remember, thing is flexible. It covers everything. In the morning, you might focus on health, while speaking the words. In the evening, on abundance. During the day, when you need peace, on inner calm. The words work for any desire, because they work at the level of identity and assumption, not at the level of specific circumstances. However, I do recommend this, especially if you're new to this practice, if you've never done anything like this before. Start with one primary desire, for the first 40 days. Choose the one thing that matters most to you right now, the thing that would make the biggest difference in your life, and focus on that. Get familiar with how the process feels, how it works, how your mind responds, how results manifest. Learn the practice with one clear focus. Then, once you've seen it work, once you've experienced the transformation, once you understand it deeply, you can expand to multiple desires. You can use the morning for one desire, evening for another, throughout the day for others. But for beginners, one clear focus is usually most effective because it prevents confusion and divided attention. Third question. What if I miss a day? What if I forget, or something happens, and I can't do it? Well, try not to. Try very hard not to. Consistency is crucial. This is like brushing your teeth, or eating, or sleeping. It's not optional, if you want results. But we're human. Life happens. Circumstances arise. If you miss a day, don't beat yourself up. Don't say I ruined everything, I have to start the whole 40 days over. That's perfectionism, and it's counterproductive. Just acknowledge you missed, forgive yourself, and pick it back up the next day. The seeds you've already planted are still there. The work you've already done is still valid. One missed day doesn't erase everything. It just means you had one day off. Get back on track, and keep going. But don't make a habit of missing days. Don't be casual about it. Don't say, oh, I'll just skip today. It doesn't matter. It does matter. Your subconscious needs steady, consistent input to accept a new pattern, and make it automatic. Sporadic practice produces sporadic results. Daily practice produces life-changing results. Fourth question. How will I know it's working? What are the signs? Beautiful question, because the answer reveals something important. You'll know it's working in two ways, internal and external. Internally, you'll feel different. This usually happens first, sometimes within days. You'll feel more peaceful, even though circumstances haven't changed. You'll feel more confident, more hopeful, more optimistic. You'll feel less worried about your desire, less anxious about whether it will happen. You'll feel less controlled by circumstances, less reactive to problems. You'll catch yourself thinking differently, speaking differently, acting differently. This internal change is the real evidence. This is what matters most. Externally, you'll start noticing opportunities you didn't see before, even though they were probably there. People will contact you out of the blue with relevant information or offers. Resources will appear. Doors will open. Circumstances will shift in your favor. Solutions will present themselves, often in ways you never could have predicted or planned. This is your subconscious, now programmed with your new assumption, orchestrating your outer world to match your inner world. But here's something crucial I need you to understand. Don't make seeing evidence a condition for continuing. Don't say, I'll do this for a week and if nothing happens, I'll stop. That's testing, not trusting. That's doubt disguised as practicality. That's setting yourself up for failure. Do the practice because you understand the law, not because you're waiting for proof. Do it because you're committed to changing your assumption regardless of how long it takes. The proof will come. It always does. But it comes to those who persist in the assumption, regardless of appearances, regardless of temporary circumstances, regardless of how long it takes. Remember Abraham in the Bible. He was promised a son. He believed the promise. But he didn't have a son for many years. Did he give up? Did he say, "It's been a week and I don't have a son yet, so I guess God lied"? No. He maintained his faith, his assumption, his expectation, and in due season, at the perfect time, the promise manifested. You must do the same. Plant your seed with these 6 words. Water it with daily practice. Trust the law. Allow the harvest to come in its own perfect timing. Now let me speak to those of you who feel like your situation is too far gone, too damaged, too impossible for these 6 words to help. Maybe you're deeply in debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe you've been diagnosed with a serious illness, and doctors gave you a timeline. Maybe you've lost everything, and you're starting from absolute zero or below zero. Maybe you're so depressed you can barely function. Maybe you've been struggling for so long that hope itself feels impossible. And you're thinking, 6 words can't fix this. My situation is too bad. It's too late, I'm too broken, I'm the exception. I want you to hear me very carefully, and I want you to believe me. There is no situation too far gone for this law to heal. None. Zero. Not one. I've seen people recover from terminal illness, when doctors said they had weeks to live. I've seen bankruptcies turn into fortunes. I've seen broken marriages restored after years of separation. I've seen addictions healed that had destroyed lives for decades. I've seen lifelong depression lift completely. I've seen every kind of impossible situation become possible and then become real. Your situation is not an exception. I know it feels like it is. I know it looks like it is. I know your logical mind is saying, but my case is different. My circumstances are truly impossible. This might work for others but not for me. But that voice is lying. That voice is your old programming trying to keep you where you are. Because change feels scary even when where you are is painful. The same law that works for small things works for big things. The same law that can bring you a parking space can bring you $1 million. The same law that can heal a headache can heal cancer. The same law that can improve a relationship can restore a completely broken one. There's no difference in the law itself. The law is impartial. The law doesn't measure the size of your problem. The law responds to your assumption. The only difference is in your faith, your persistence, your willingness to assume it's possible even when everything visible says it's not. And I'm here to tell you, it's possible. Whatever you're facing, however bad it looks, however long it's been, it's possible to change it. Not because of me, not because of these 6 words, but because of the law, because of the power within you, because of your connection to infinite intelligence. So if you're in a dark place right now, if you're at rock bottom or below, if you've given up hope, please hear me. Don't give up. Not yet. Not before you try this. Give yourself 40 days. Just 40 days. Speak these 6 words. Every morning and night with as much feeling as you can muster. Even if that feeling is tiny at first. Even if you can barely whisper the words through your tears. Even if you feel nothing. Do it anyway. Plant the seed anyway. Trust the process anyway. And I promise you, something will shift. Maybe not immediately in your circumstances, but something will shift in you first. And that shift in you is what creates the shift in your circumstances. Remember Maria, the young woman with severe anxiety. She could barely function, could barely leave her home, could barely speak. But she wrote the words, then whispered them, then said them, and slowly, steadily, her life transformed completely. If she could do it from that place of fear and limitation, you can do it from wherever you are. And for those of you who have everything you think you want but feel empty inside, like Robert did, these 6 words will reconnect you to your truth. They'll help you discover what you really desire beyond the surface wants, beyond what society says you should want. They'll wake you up to your authentic self, to your real purpose, to what actually matters. Because the thing you desire at the deepest level isn't really a thing at all. It's a state of being. It's peace. It's joy. It's love. It's meaning. It's connection to something real and true. When you speak these words with that understanding, when you let thing mean your truest desire, rather than just external stuff, you're not just manifesting objects or circumstances, you're manifesting yourself. The highest version of yourself. The truest version of yourself. The version that's been waiting patiently all along to emerge from behind all the masks and pretending and conditioning. My dear friend, we've come to the end of our time together, but this is really just the beginning for you. You now know the 6 words that can change everything, that contain all the power of creation. I am the thing I desire. These aren't just words. They're a key to the kingdom within you. That kingdom is real. It's infinite. It's been waiting for you to claim it. And all you have to do is speak these words with feeling, with persistence, with faith in the law. Will it happen overnight? Perhaps. Perhaps not. But I promise you this. If you speak these words every morning and every night for 40 days minimum, if you really feel them, if you assume they're true, your life will not be the same. It cannot be the same. Because you're working with law. And law is dependable. Law works the same way for everyone. Every time. Without fail. You might not see how it will happen. That's fine. You don't need to see how. You don't need to figure out the path. The universe knows how. Your subconscious knows how. Infinite intelligence knows how. Your job is simply to assume it's already true, to feel it's already real, to live from that place of having rather than wanting. Remember the stories I shared with you. David, the desperate father whose daughter was sick, and whose finances were destroyed. Sarah, who lost everything in her divorce and fell into depression. Robert, who had everything but felt nothing. Maria, who was trapped by anxiety. Real people. Real transformations. Not made-up fairy tales, but actual cases I witnessed personally. You're no different from them. You have the same mind, the same power, the same connection to infinite intelligence. You're made of the same substance. You're subject to the same laws. The only difference is whether you use this power or not. Whether you speak these words or not. Whether you assume the wish fulfilled, or stay stuck in old assumptions. So here's what I want you to do. Starting right now, starting tonight. Begin your practice. This very night before you sleep, speak the 6 words. Tomorrow morning when you wake, speak them again. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for the new month. Don't wait until circumstances improve. Start now. Start from wherever you are with whatever you have. Write the 6 words where you'll see them. I am the thing I desire. Put them by your bed. Put them on your bathroom mirror. Write them on a card and carry it everywhere. Say them morning and evening. Feel them. Become them. Live from them. And as you do this, I want you to know something deeply. I believe in you. Not because I know you personally, not because I know your circumstances, but because I know the law. And the law works for everyone who works with it. You are not an exception. You are not too far gone. You are not unworthy. You are not broken beyond repair. You are a perfect candidate for a miracle, because you're a human being with a subconscious mind connected to infinite intelligence. Now, close your eyes with me for just a moment. Just for a moment. Close your eyes, and let's speak this together. I want you to really feel these words as we say them. I am the thing I desire. Everything I need is already within me. My subconscious mind is now accepting this truth and bringing it into my experience. I feel it. I know it. I give thanks for it. It is done. Amen. Open your eyes. You're not the same person who started listening to this. Something has shifted. Even if you can't name it yet. Something has changed in you. Honor that shift. Nurture it. Protect it. Feed it with daily practice. And watch what happens in the coming weeks and months. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something shift inside, if you know this is what you needed to hear, then please do 3 things for me. First, subscribe to this channel, so you don't miss the deeper teachings I'll be sharing. This is just the foundation, just the beginning. There's so much more wisdom to explore together, so many more keys to unlock, so many more transformations waiting for you. Second, click the like button. It seems like a small thing, but it helps this message reach others who need it desperately. Someone out there right now is searching for hope, searching for answers, searching for a way out of their struggle. Your simple click might be what brings them to this message, what changes their life, what saves them. Never underestimate the power of that small action. And third, this is most important, leave a comment below and tell me, what is the thing you desire? Write it down. Declare it. Claim it. When you speak it or write it, you activate it. You make it real. You set it in motion. Let this comment section become a garden of miracles, a testimony to the power of assumption, a celebration of transformation happening in real time. I'll be reading your comments. I'll be celebrating with you, as your reality changes. And it will change. Not because of me. Because of you. Because of the power within you, that you're finally learning to use. Because you're finally speaking the right words, planting the right seeds, assuming the right assumption. Until we meet again, remember this. You are what you assume yourself to be. So assume greatness, assume abundance, assume love, assume health, assume success, assume peace, assume joy, assume that everything you desire is already yours in the invisible realm and is now becoming visible in your experience. I am the thing I desire. Say it with me one last time. Out loud if you can. With feeling. With faith. With certainty. I am the thing I desire. God bless you, my dear friend. Now go and create your new reality. The universe is waiting to hear those 6 words from your lips. Speak them with faith. Speak them with feeling. Speak them with persistence. Speak them morning and night without fail. And watch everything change. Watch your world transform. Watch the impossible become possible, and then become real. The power is within you. The key is in your hand. The kingdom is yours. Claim it. Assume it. Live it. Be it. I am the thing I desire.